Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Strong Network with Carla Michelle. That is me. And it's such a great opportunity to have this time with you as we have another episode for your listening pleasure. Something that's going to take you and make you more strategic, tap into your talents, understand the power of resilience, optimism, remind you how necessary you are, and then the end result is so you can go global. Global doesn't have to mean you have to take over the world, it just means your world on the worlds that you want to impact. So it is such, again, like I said, a great honor to have you. I have a special guest today, and she is here with me all the way from San Diego, California. This is Tiffany. Okay, I practiced the name Vakian. Oh God, I
Oh,
can't say it.
that hurt. Vakilian.
Vakilian.
Child,
Tiffany.
woo, that stung. That's
Vakilian. There it is.
okay. V as in victory. A as in A. Don't mess with my money. K as in KK. Let's kiki. Ah, no, I'm playing. I'm playing. Vakilian. Vakilian. Vakilian.
Vakilian.
That's all right. It means
Well, let me.
advocate. It's actually Persian.
Oh, nice. Okay, Tiffany.
Mm,
Well, to our listeners, this is a best-selling author, an award-winning speaker, an editor committed to facilitating global connection through words. She has her master's and additional certification in transformative leadership language arts and also a member of ASCAP, the National Forensic League, the Transformative Language Arts Network, and the Editorial Freelancers Association. Tiffany helps authors grow from holding their stories inside to confidently sharing published worldwide. She also volunteers throughout San Diego, California, so you might find her somewhere, including the San Diego Professional Editors Network. She's the quintessential Renaissance gal. Oh my
yes.
gosh,
Yes.
yes.
Because I do so much and it brings all the joy.
I love it. Well, our topic today, listeners, is how the stories we tell ourselves shape our bodies. How the stories we tell ourselves shape our bodies. Tiffany,
Yes,
oh
yes.
my gosh. It's so great to have you here and letting the listeners get to know you and all the great things that you do. I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about this story and then why you published such a personal story.
So the name of the book is The Cry, Poems
Oh,
of Morning Sickness. But wait. What you said is correct because what I learned from publishing my bestseller was how the cells in my body
mhm.
responded to the freedom of the cathartic release when I shared my story. Let's back up a bit. 2015, I was pregnant. I was excited. We just got married. It was beautiful. It was like pregnancy right after marriage. And I'm wearing the dress because we did the ceremony later, but I'm pregnant in the dress, not knowing, and all this beautiful, stuff. And within a month, I was in excruciating pain. I felt like I was being stabbed in my center with a rusty dagger that had friends. It was
Mm.
lots and lots of pain. And on February 6th, 2015, I went to see the doctor with my mom, and he said, I think we've got 50% chance of success. I am cautiously optimistic. And within 2 hours of that, I was in the ER and I was giving birth. I was 16 weeks along. I looked like I was 27 to 32 weeks, depending on which measurement. And the pain was beyond. And then the event. Trigger warning, um, we're dealing with infant loss. And I folded in on myself. I didn't want to get out of the bed. I was also withdrawing from the drugs, the pain medications, because no longer, having the pain, I had to stop taking the meds. And so my body was responding to that. 3 months after my son died, my older brother died. And so all of that processing and pain and confusion and frustration and all that comes with that got shoved down with the day to day of uh, my brother was in his 40s, so we had community, we had relationship. He was a minister and he was out of country, so we're trying to get him back from Costa Rica, and what does that look like, and how is the body looking, and oh, something happened to it, and how do we do the celebration of life, where do we do the celebration of life, where do we bury, and do we buy, and all of the, all of that minutia just became this mountain on top of the rock that was me processing my son. But underneath all of that was this fire of me trying to love my son, do the best thing, because now I'm the oldest living sibling, and just being in the world. And so one night, couldn't take it anymore. The pressure cooker, seeped out a story. So I wrote the story of my son, emailed it to my girlfriend midnight. I don't even think I wrote anything outside of here. Just like, take it. And I didn't hear from her for a few days. But then she called me back, and all she did was cry.
Mm.
And because she did that, it was like when she cried, I could breathe
Mm.
and also cry for my son. It didn't belittle my older brother. It just brought my son, and therefore me, into the room in a different way. And that started the healing journey. And this year I had some friends that were telling me, you know what, Tiffany, it's time. It's time for you to release the story so you can set other women free, women who are stuck in this room. You have to go into this room because you, being a storyteller, you can go into this room. At that time, I was lost, I was apathetic, I was certainly depressed. But now I'm on fire. The fire that was underneath me, that was just waiting and burning and just gaining heat, now has momentum and trajectory. And I love helping women tell their stories. And what I have found is that the cells in my body have responded with growth, with vitality, with physical expressions of freedom that they didn't have before. Depression is not, it's not just a mental issue, it's not just an emotional issue, it is also a physical issue. And I'm not giving medical advice, but there's a reason why there are studies in creative medicine and narrative therapies and somatic medicine and the different ways in the mind body connection on a scientific level. And I just want everyone to know that if you own your story, you can choose to share it or not, but until you own it, you are doing your body no good.
Mm.
But and the weirdest thing, after I released the cry, which is about to get translated, when I released the story, I released the book. One, it became a bestseller, a best-selling new release on Amazon. That was wonderful. Very, very honored in multiple categories, which is also an honor. But then
Yay. Yay.
all of a sudden, my body was like, I like this. I like this
Mm.
feeling. Not oh, look at me, but just I'm not the only person holding the story anymore. And then so many other women and even men whose wives or partners or sisters or cousins have been through it, and they're one person removed, just started holding me up. And that connection was also a healing salve to my own body, to the very cells in my body. Ain't none of us getting any
Mhm.
younger up in these streets, but I am happy to say that I have a boldness in my lockstep. I have my back is straighter, my muscles are stronger, my voice is clearer, is louder, and I was loud to begin with. And now I'm just, let me help you do that. Let's all join hands and share and hold each other's stories and lift each other up and just become that it's almost like a mythical, you know, just mythical, powerful magic that the story has. Jesus spoke in parables. There had to have been a reason.
Yeah, stories are captivating me. Anytime that you're even talking about being on stage, they're like, you got to, tell your story. Tell
Mhm,
your
mhm,
story, feel the emotion,
mhm,
feel the audience and let the
mhm.
audience feel you. And that's in the story. You're
Right,
definitely so true.
right. And even like, think of it this way: comedians, right? Pick your favorite one. Inevitably, they have told a story that embarrasses themselves for
Mm.
your entertainment, but it's the story that connected you to them in the first place. I can easily name, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, want to lick, psych. Like that was my childhood. I understood it. Don't worry about how old I am, but you
Well,
know,
you gave it away when you said psych.
I know, right? but that's but that's what I mean. I am happy to have been here, to be here, to have the energy and the push to go on. And I think I've just reached the age where I'm okay not trying so hard to be between the ages of 17 and 25.
Mm,
And that's a big dose of freedom.
yes. Yes. Amen. It is. So the cry poems of mourning, and it's not mourning like
No.
morning, it's mourning. If you're
Mhm,
mourning, the poems of mourning sickness,
mhm.
um
Yeah.
it just sharing your personal story. You talk about the relief it gives you,
Mhm.
and many people, if they want it, so say, because we could talk about publishing and helping someone write their story, but
Right,
what
right.
about those, because we're going to touch on that, but what about those that are like, I don't want to share my story? You touched a little bit of how what happens in that, the power of sharing it, but what
Mhm.
else can they get off? If this is not a question you're probably prepared for, but what would that person, how would they benefit by journaling their story, or getting a notebook and just writing down these emotions, whatever their story is?
They're still getting it out. They're still. I mean, I have a different book that I published it was kind of as a proof of concept that you could take a book from manuscript, or concept to market in a month. And it's a journal,
Mm.
and it's called "I Need to Stay Faithful, Else Y'all Gonna Faithful," and that's FAAFO. And if you don't know what that means, then you need to ask somebody, because I'm not saying it on the airwaves. But the whole point was, if you can't tell anybody, tell this here book. And if you need to, hide it away, bury it in the ground, but don't carry it. That book came out before The Cry, and I think that it was a sort of a divine setup for me, because I needed to get that lesson in my head, because I shared my story with a friend,
Hmm.
because I was on bed rest. I was on bed rest. I was healing from surgery. Um, so I was on bed rest the night that it happened. I was healing emotionally, mentally. So I spent a lot of time in bed. Had some things happen that tried to bring me back into life, and it just didn't work. Then I had surgery to get rid of the 13 fibroids that were in there that caused most of the issue.
Mm.
And so I was on bed rest again, healing from that pain, healing from being cut for the third time. No, the second time in that very area. I have since then had two children. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, God. And had to be cut in that same spot. So I have been, I've had major surgery in the same area 4 times. And
Yeah.
every time it came with something. Every time there was a lot of pain and hurt of physical, which always took me back to that first time where there are no words. I've written a book full of words, and there are no words to adequately explain that cry, and that's why I called it The Cry. And so I am bold enough to share my story, but I'm also aware enough that some women aren't at that place. And if they have to vicariously live in the boldness of my story, there are too too many songs out there in the world that if you hear it, your whole body reacts. I'm not trying to get any, anybody in any copyright infringement situation, but when you hear dun 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 dun, 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 you already know, okay, this is what's happening in my mind, this is what's happening in my body. I'm about to get ready for work, I'm about to get ready to work out, and you start getting hyped up, you know, and and pick your song, insert it. There's a reason why stories, song, art. I Now my focus is word as art. It could be a linear story. It could be something. You could be the next Picasso of words. That's why I went into editing, because when you understand that the idea is the point, the expression is just a bridge to help other people get to the idea.
Mm,
You
mm.
know, I
Yeah.
have in my book I have poetry and my actual journal entries that I sent to my girlfriend. And I barely edited them, which was, as an editor, difficult for me because I look at parts and the perfectionist in me tries to rear its head. But then I think of how honest I am being to honor my son, to honor my wilderness at that time, to honor the freedom, the joy I feel now. No one talks about how you can still feel joy afterward and it not be a guilty pleasure.
Mm.
It's
So
not
true.
I can't remember, I think it's called survivor's guilt,
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually have joy that is free of guilt. And that you still have those days where you just have to sit in the room with the possibility and mourn the possibility again. It's
Yes.
all there. It's all there. And you honor it by sharing it, even if you share it with no one but yourself. But if you are in the process of engaging it, looking at it, seeing what it is that made you who you are, there is a poetry to that. And it is a beautiful poetry. If we're not all songs, what are we?
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Is that what inspired your cover? I mean, what was it? What inspired that cover?
So when I spoke to the cover designer, I told her I wanted to look not just like a black woman who suffered infant loss. I want it to engage other other races, other genders. I wanted it to be something that also again refers to the joy, not just the sadness. The title says it all so much. So when she showed me the cover, and I'm talking all of this beautiful, bright pink and the deep dark blues and a little bit of green and a
Mm.
little and then the purple and the Texas in white. I mean, the way that she exposed the joy in such an artistic way, and it was from conversations with me
Mm.
and just saying, she showed me some mock-ups that were, I mean, they weren't bad, they were actually quite beautiful, but they weren't
Mhm.
right.
Right. Which is important.
Mm-hmm,
Well,
mm-hmm.
you made a great choice.
Ah,
Great choice.
I feel
Because it's the cover, I believe, that's important.
that.
And because that's what attracts the reader.
Mm-hmm,
And you also, but and then it's the story inside. And it's such a hard subject to discuss. I know I've had two miscarriages. I have four children that I've birthed, but I understand a lot of the questions,
mm-hmm,
what did I do something? Is is it the stress in my life and all that comes? And real quick, and I don't think I've really talked about too much about having two miscarriages, but one happened early and then one happened a little late. And I remember being at home and trigger alert, and I'm in the restroom, so you know where I'm sitting, and hearing it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
hearing that water, boop,
Mm.
you know,
And knowing
and
what it was.
knowing what it was.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I rescued it, rescued my child,
Mm-hmm.
and put it in something to take to the doctor, and they're like, "Well, you didn't have to bring it." I was like, "Well, you don't just leave my child that way,
No,
so
no, you honor that. And yeah.
yes, and having to do that, it was a situation where I ended up having to go to the hospital by myself.
Mhm.
But it is something that you have to work through, and I had a kid before and a kid after, those two situations, but it is something to let that out. And even now I can feel the emotion.
I can hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And so, and I've never written about it, never shared. I've probably shared very few because it is such a hard topic.
yeah.
So
But how
either we
beautiful. I apologize for interrupting, but how beautiful for us to have this moment. And it wasn't by me making the moment. It wasn't by you making the moment. It was because we were talking about a story.
Mhm.
And you not only heard what I was saying, you heard your own experience. And
Yes.
in both of my children that I had after, there was a moment where there was an issue of blood.
Mm.
And at one point we thought, okay, this one is definitely a situation where we have to go to the ER and things like that. And thank God, like you said, I mean, I rescued what turned out to be an edema,
Mm.
you know, but at the time it was the right size, it was the right shape. I was the right time along in the journey, and I'll never forget, just like you sitting in the bathroom and all of a sudden you hear that gush. There is
Mhm.
no sound like that.
No.
Every woman who's experienced it knows what that sounds like, and you can never adequately describe it.
No. No,
But
nor
I'm
the
with you in
pain. No.
that room. Girl, when I tell you, today you went back into that room and I'm standing right there with you, and you were not alone. You were not alone, and you are not alone in it now. And that's just something else we have in common. I'm starstruck by you. I said that from the first time I met you. And so this is, I mean, how awesome is it to have to have this moment together where we can say, let's link arms and hold each other up. And thank you so much for honoring me with your story. It sounds so close to the veil. That's the phrase I use, close to the veil, when you start talking about things that are kind of ephemeral and ethereal.
Mhm.
But we just talked about your child. We just talked about my child. Bet money. They both up in heaven right now, probably playing the real Halo together. Gave each other enough. I know your mom. Okay.
Well, remember I had 2 miscarriages, so there's a
Oh,
there's
there
a
you go.
trio
I'm so sorry. I'm so
trio of
sorry. I was just
friends.
thinking of that specific story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay. So then, what game are they playing up there? What game are they playing up there? Hide and seek,
Yeah.
tag.
Something.
You
Something.
know something. And to them, it I can't speak for them, but I can say that when I imagine that, there's no sadness to it.
Yeah.
You know, when I think about the moment, of course there is. Of
Mhm.
course there is. I'm in that room right now and I will always be in that room.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
I'm holding hands with Dr. Carla Michelle right now, and we are walking it out together, and we are not
Mhm.
alone in it. And
Yeah.
you know, there are a lot of women who have been through this and they can't voice it.
No. And I want to add, we have to, even those who have had to, for reasons, and I'm not, whatever the reasons, had to abort a child or
Mhm.
chose, and, there's still that cry
That
in there.
crop, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And I mean, this is such a weird time to be talking about
Right.
femininity and specifically femininity, motherhood, and birthing. But who am I to judge a single person? I got all of my own story to deal with. I
Yes.
don't
Yes.
have time. I don't have room. I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. Dr. Carla, you do what you're supposed to do. And I bet you if
Mhm.
people stop doing what they think they're supposed to do and start doing what they're actually supposed to do, there's a whole different shift to the situation. The
Right.
paradigm shift, just the mindset. And again, to
Right.
bring this back to the cells within the body, I can tell you right now, you can't see me, but I am vibrating with the untold stories. You know, the
Mm.
people who are linking arms with me who, for whatever reason, had to make a difficult choice. And also for the women who are desperate to
Mm.
have a child,
Yes. Yes.
desperate to have a child. And this is their story,
Yeah.
you know?
So true.
It's not
Yes.
about the politics. It's about motherhood and all the facets of it and what that looks like. That's powerful magic, man. You don't want to mess with that.
No. No. Good stuff.
Mm,
I'm gonna and thank you just for your heart and your sensitivity and your empathy, because it's coming through loud and clear. And there will be ways, listeners, for you to reach out to Tiffany. And if that story is in you and you're looking to get it out, she's the one. She's the one. So I want to ask you, you're an amazing editor,
thank
but this was your story.
you. Mhm.
How was that? And, how was that for you, and how was the publishing process?
Okay, so there's this phrase that I don't like using because it sounds bougie, but it was so true for me. It's called cognitive dissonance
Yes.
because everything in me wanted to be in control
Uh-huh.
and change it. This sentence started like this, and the next one started like that, and the next one started like that, and they shouldn't do that. But that's the way I felt, and that is the truth. And it actually, in my opinion, it made me a more sensitive editor and writing coach because walking through it with such a sensitive personal story and the way that my editors and beta readers and friends kind of walked me through, you know, the tear, everyone was always telling me about the tears and all. I was crying at my son's soccer game. Thanks for that. One of my friends responded to me. She's like, thanks for that. And then I have another family member who I just found out today she had two. And then a couple of months ago, I found out another family member. She had two. She has
Mm,
my book, and she says, Nisi, I read it and I put it down, and I
mm,
read some more and I put it down. And I love my family, and I'm almost like the editing part as an editor it was kind of sucky. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of sucky.
yeah.
But in the
I
very
can see.
same breath, yeah, in the very same breath, I got what they were doing. And so there was a point where I would say, you know what, you're absolutely right. Let me make that change. And then a couple of times, um, weird spellings is, this is a non-American spelling. Like, yeah, but that's how it felt. So keep the O in the U.
Hey, you stood
I
up
wasn't
for
gonna give
your
up.
creative rights. You stood up for
Right,
your creative
exactly.
rights.
That's my style guide right there.
I am not mad. I am not mad. Well, how has your life changed since publishing The Cry?
um, well, now I can say I'm a best-selling author. That's nice. That's definitely
Yeah.
nice. Um,
Yes.
I'll the how to say this. The day I found out that I was best-selling new release in African American poetry, um, I took it to my husband and I showed him the book and it said it's a bestseller. And we clinked glasses
Mm.
and we said to Moses, and that was really cool. And it wasn't obviously the book was doing what the book was doing, but It wasn't the point. So that bit of connection, one of my family members said, "This is one of those situations that can tear a marriage apart or bring you closer together than ever."
Mm.
And I'm I'm really blessed to say that my husband and I chose to go through it together. And he did things his way, and I did things my way, and then we would touch base, and then we would support one another in the ways that we could. Um, I'll never forget. There was one day where he wanted me to go out, and I didn't want to go. And he was like, "Well, I mean, it's been a while now. You do you even want to try?" And I'm like, "Honestly, I don't. I'm faking really well, but I'm not all right." And he just held me, and it's one of those moments where he allowed me to be, for all my boldness and bravado and loud voice, he allowed me to just be quiet and gentle and fragile. And everybody needs someone in their life who can let them do that.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes,
I mean,
yes.
you know, Wonder Woman got a whole bunch of trouble looking for that one.
Yeah.
You're still blocking bullets, but she was having her moments too.
Yeah, yeah. And that's reality. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we are able as women, I think we're the most amazing creative creatures,
I mean,
you know.
you know,
I mean, we could go through what we go through and do what we do
every
and
month, every month,
yes, right?
we
And
don't get
raise
no
some.
vacation.
No, we don't. And we still, show up in so many ways and
Yeah.
fashions,
Mm-hmm.
and whether in career or in the home. I mean, I once was a domestic goddess. So, I understand it. It's actually easier for me to go when I went back to work after 10 years of being home
Mm-hmm.
than being at home
I'll
with
bet. I
my
was like,
kids.
oh, what? You mean the daily chaos?
My God,
That's
the
it?
unpredictability of
Right.
how your at next hour was going to be.
Oh my gosh. Everything 0 to 132.
But but still, even going back to work, then you miss so much of their
Mm-hmm.
everyday
Mm-hmm.
milestones. And
Right.
so, there is no better place. There
There,
isn't.
exactly. That is such
There
a
is no
great
better
point.
place.
What does my mom say? Grass is always greener on the other side till you get the water bill.
Right, right. And it's so true. And it is, kudos if we're staying home, kudos if we're at work. There's no judgment either way because they're both
Handling
uh
business.
yes, they're both handling business and they both and we but the thing is we can do both, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And that's how we're created to be able to choose and to make a decision and to show up strong in both situations. I don't mean strong in the sense of strength. I mean with so much of the because I even think if I use the other definition of
Mm-hmm.
strong other than mine,
Right.
to be strong, you have to have the weakness
Mm-hmm.
because it takes strength to show your how fragile you were with your husband.
Yes.
It takes strength to do
Yeah.
that.
Especially
And
when people are used to you being the
mhm,
fallback. That's one of the
yeah.
reasons I just that what's that song give it to your sister's older the point is, when people expect you to be the strong one, sometimes they forget you are fallible.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
And they put that's the pressure, and then we take on the pressure of trying to be their definition, or to
Mm-hmm.
be what they think they see, and that's a disservice to us. And just like you stood up for your words, whether they weren't American words or whatever you just said, that's
Right, right,
for women. We need to stand up for who we are and how we want to show ourselves, and not try to fit into this is how it's supposed to be,
right.
and either you're strong or you're weak. No, you can toggle between both because you are both.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have emotions if you weren't supposed to have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So you were giving them for a reason, and you're strong because you're built to be strong, but that doesn't mean you have to always function in this strength. And it's
Yes.
you got to be careful.
Mhm.
So, in this, as we are coming to a close, you've said so many great things. Before I ask you this question, what do you want our listeners to know about you and what you do, your book? Tell us, talk to us.
I want everyone to know that it is possible for you to speak the fiery truth of who you are. And that does not have to be anybody else's voice but your own. If you would like to reach out to me, I cannot wait to hear your stories. I have spots available for uh, free author breakthrough sessions. And if you're thinking about writing a book, that means you're an author. You might not have the confidence, but that's where you get the tools and the skills and the mindset. And I'm here to help you with all three. If you would like, come on board. Let's have a discussion and see if we're a match to continue working together. There's no cost, no obligation. You can reach me at www.bookwithtiffany.today, and we will get together and we will have an author breakthrough session and see if your book is ready for the world.
And if it's not, she'll make it ready.
That part, get it right.
Okay, so here's the question in closing here. In the last 5 days,
Oh my
what
gosh.
have you learned about yourself that you're willing to share?
I am no longer interested in giving my power away. And my power is best measured by my peace.
Good.
So
There you go. There
there
it
it
is. There it is. Mic
is.
has been dropped.
I'm done with you.
When your power, if you can measure your power by your you can measure, wait, because you said, okay, because that's really good. Your peace, if you're giving your power away and you want to know if it's too much, you got to look at your peace.
Check your peace. If
Check
you
your
don't
peace.
have peace, find it because that search is where the work is.
Yes, yes. And knowing yourself, that's my biggest
Mm-hmm,
thing. Like knowing
mm-hmm.
yourself, knowing your peace, knowing your power.
Yep, yep,
Yes. All
yeah.
right, Tiffany. Once again, if you listeners, everybody who's got a story, something, things that you've even started, really feel there's people out there who started something and it's saved or it's written somewhere and you keep
Mm-hmm.
sitting on it because
Those are
you
my
don't think
favorite. Those are my
you
favorite.
don't think that somebody wants to hear what you got to say. You never know. Who
Uh-uh.
knew that Tiffany's story would be on the bestsellers list? Because she shared from her journals or she shared from her heart and she shared from a hurt. But you're not alone. Many people share where you are. And maybe not now, but in the future. So you got to get it out there so they can get it.
Mm.
So
I have a
www book with Tiffany.
www.bookwithtiffany.today. And I'm going to say the quote that set me free. Your story is someone's step by step path out of pain. That's Holly.
Mm, that it is. And can I share my quote on that one too?
Come on with it.
Your story is someone else's refreshing pool.
Get girl, what? That's like 16 mics dropped.
Okay, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop. Okay, and the crowd is going crazy. We gotta stop. We gotta stop. Tiffany, thank you so much for your time and your talents and showing us your resiliency, how optimistic you are, and you move forward even when things probably told you not to. And once knowing that you are necessary and that the story was necessary, you went global with it. Thank you
Yes,
for
ma'am.
being on the Strong Network podcast. And everybody, we'll see you next time. Thank you.